So I'm inside in risk assessment. I'm going to show you how to add a risk assessment. One of the things that you could get tidied up first even immediately is you can see add risk assessment here. And across the top here we have another button called new safety risk assessment. They're exactly the same thing, but what we should have really is the same terminology. So new safety risk assessment, that could be there. We either have add or new. My preference would be to have add, okay, add risk assessment, and have it the same there, add safety risk assessment. But you can see, even though the buttons do exactly the same, they have a different name. So I'm going to come in. The first thing it says, okay, what type of hazard do you want to add? I'm going to say fire, because it's an easy one. Everybody understands fire. And within fire, it says, okay, what type of assessment do you want to do? Normally here we have fire L by S, when that means likelihood and severity, or fire Q&A, that means a more detailed question and answer approach. Let me come here to display screen equipment. Okay, that's the wrong one again. Let me come to manual handling. I want to choose one where maybe we have two options for underneath. Okay, here you can see we have manual handling. Underneath manual handling, the top level, we have different types of assessments that we can do. Okay, so the client can say manual handling at a top level, and they can differentiate it down here. So typically in other client sites, I can't in this one, in other client sites you would have maybe two options here. Fire L by S, which means likelihood and severity. It means it's just going to use the scoring method, and that scoring method, as I said, is it's like this. Okay, it'll be something like likelihood and severity. Sometimes we have more factors, likelihood, severity, frequency, number of people exposed, that might go across, and each of these might have 5 factors, okay? It doesn't matter. We can set that up in the scoring. Obviously, for the functional spec, we want to get it right, but the idea ultimately is that you do a score and you end up with something like high, medium, and low risk, okay? So here I'm going to go fire. We have to say, where is it? So again, the system menu, this is already configured. So I'm going to say in the laboratory in Cork. Okay, Cork Chemistry Laboratory. So I can just type in lab. I don't have to type Cork Chemistry, but Cork is one of the 5 sites for Leo Pharma, and it's in the lab. You can see there's a Bombay laboratory, there's a development laboratory, there's a lab washroom. This is the one I want. I have to put in a quick description. I'm going to say overloading of the electrical socket on the wall with too many plugs. Is that okay? So I'm going to say that somebody has a plug in the wall, but they're trying to plug in 10 different things into one plug, and that's never very good. Okay, so I hit save, and what it's going to do now is it's going to take me into my risk assessment, and I have 3 things. I have what's the hazard, what's the risk, what's the control, and down below here is the documentation media. In version 4, I'd like the media tab to disappear, and we put it up here with the hazard. Okay, we don't need a 4th tab. The media should be up here next to the hazard to describe what the hazard is. Also in version 4, we're going to create an Excel type of view, which is one column going across the page. Okay, because people don't like this because they have to click so often. They want to come in and they want a simple Excel view, and the Excel view is like in the book. If I could turn that around, I would show you, but I'm not sure I can. But the idea is that they go through hazard, risk, control, going across. And we'll talk about that as a separate development for V4. Mark might even do it in the meantime, but the idea is that we want a table type of view. Okay, we don't want to be coming down the left hand side. So anyway, when you create the risk assessment inside here, okay, what you have is when it goes blue, this is just like a top level summary. Here we have what's the hazard, and we've already said it's fire. We've said the specific method, is it likelihood, severity, or Q&A, and we put in a description. Now, the other 2 categories that are here, I'll mention them now because we're doing it, is that if we were doing a risk assessment on a machine or a chemical, we could have an inventory inside here. You tick the box, and if the inventory was configured, and you can configure this when you see the video for the system menu for sites and areas, you can configure inventory there, but you can also add a new one. So with the inventory, and 99 times in 100, you won't use this button. Okay, so just coming down here, the inventory is a tag number on the machine, a description, who manufactured the machine, the manufacturer's date, and a serial number. I'm going to come back separately. We'll cover this in another day, Sruthy, about that. And also we have specifically who's involved. Sometimes in the risk assessment, we say employees can be involved, but over here we can come in and name an individual employee. Just if we wanted to say Andrea was exposed as opposed to a general employee, I could list Andrea here. So that's what's happening there. The active tag, okay, is basically, it means this system, it's a live risk assessment. If I edit a risk assessment and I take that active tick box away and I save it, it moves it into the history folder, into the historical folder. Okay, so for now I want it there. When I create a new risk assessment, the active box has to tick there as well. I'm just going to check my video for time, how I'm doing. Assuming I have the role over here, okay, to edit the document, right? What you have over here then is a reason for change popping up, and the reason for change is my reason for why I'm editing some document today. Okay, that's just my reason. But in the background in MAI, we know that on the 12th of October, Dan or EHA Softdesk created a new hazard, its hazard number or whatever, boom, 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 created it on this day. So we have a full, and Dan changed this value to this value. So we have a change log in everything that changes. In version 4, okay, I'm not sure we need the reason for change pop-up. So again, it didn't appear in the video just there. But when I came in here and I wanted to add in a new, if I wanted to add in something new inside, a reason for change pop-up appears. We mightn't need it, because if we know who makes the change and everything in the background, we can just record it automatically without the reason for change pop-up. I think there's probably a better way in 2015 for doing that. So all that we have here is the calendar. The video wasn't recording, so I'm just going to state one or two things again, Sruthy, okay? The calendar should potentially be date and time. It should be the same calendar. A warning will pop up here if you change a location. It's just to stop people accidentally moving a risk assessment from one laboratory to the other. They mightn't be careful. So it's just a little warning, okay? That's probably not a bad thing, okay? But there might be a more sophisticated way of doing it today. The department is where we're doing the assessment, and the department manager is identified. And he or she might be too busy on a day-to-day basis, so they nominate somebody to manage it for them, normally the supervisor. So we put in that job title there, and the name of the supervisor goes in as well. The assessor will automatically appear because I created the assessment, so it knows up here that I created it. But if I wanted to put in a new assessor, I can come down here and I can type in a new assessor's name. So there we go. So I can say John Galway, and John can put in his own notes down here as well. And we could save on term like this. Now, if you note at the bottom here, right, just before I cancel that, if you note down here, there's some text missing or something. There it is, preview, okay. I think you have a choice of saving it as HTML or text. I don't know why it's so complicated. It should be just a pop-up to put in notes. But what happens is when assessors are doing risk assessments, they might themselves want to record notes. We sometimes limit the number of texts that people can type. We tell them that if it's a lot, they should put it down here under the media tab. But the advantage here is that if they do put in their own text like this, it'll print on the risk assessment. If it goes uploaded as a media file, it won't print with the risk assessment. So it's probably good that they can at least put in their own text here. So if we have more than one assessor, you can do this. The reason for change is up there, and a lot of the time, if it's new, it shouldn't even ask me. It should just go in as a new entry, okay? But as I said, I'm hoping that we can get rid of this reason for change thing in the new version. I don't think we need it. Now, one thing is, if you come in to do a risk, to edit the assessment later, you can't do any changes unless you're listed either as a risk assessor or the manager or the responsible person. So if you're trying to change this later, if Sruthy came into this one, it wouldn't let you. What you have to do is you have to edit the assessment, add yourself as an assessor, and then you're able to work away on the assessment, okay? So it's just one thing again to check functionally that's okay. We don't want anybody changing it. We want the people who are doing it to be part of the assessment. And as I said, that's either the manager, the responsible person, or the assessor is down here. I'm just going to save that there. I'm going to ask you for a moment though, is what I'm saying so far okay?